Edgar TV. How do and welcome back to Edgar TV, where today we're going to discuss darts sponsorship. Now, in this episode, we're going to look first of all at the 3 different ways in which darts sponsorship sort of works. I'm going to share my top tips with you in this episode for how to attain darts sponsorships, and also we're going to have a look at a message sent to me by a dart sponsor who sponsors multiple players and also who sponsored the World Championship Programme. So a regular dart sponsor will also be sharing a little bit of information in this video. So first of all, what are the 3 different methods of dart sponsorship? There is something known as a percentage deal. Now what a percentage deal basically is that the sponsor will provide you with your costs, so your hotel costs, your travel costs. They'll take care of all the expenditure. However, in return, they'll expect a percentage of your earnings, which will be determined between the player and between the sponsor. So we've got the percentage-based deal where you give back depending on what you earn. So it might be less than the sponsor invests, or it might be a lot more. Depends how you do. We have the advertisement method, which basically means you're an advert. You put a patch on your shirt that advertises the company, and you'll advertise them in any ways in which you agree with that company, whether that is social media platforms or in-person personal events. So the advertisement way is another version of sponsorship. Unlike the percentage, this is where you don't give back a percentage of your earnings. You basically are an advert for that company. Finally, option 3, this is a royalty scheme. Now what this basically means is it's kind of like a merchandising or an agreement, so to speak, in which they brand you and you get a royalty from that brand. For example, they might sell some darts, so they might sell your darts for you. They'll take care of the sale of the darts, they'll package them out, send them out, they'll do all the business side of it, and then you'll earn a royalty off the back of that, which they'll pay you sort of every 3-6 months or so. So we've got percentage, we've got advertisements, and we've got royalties. Let's hear quickly from a dart sponsor who, like I said earlier, has sponsored the World Championship Programme and 8 PDC dart players. Let's hear what they've got to say before I share Edgar's top tips.
How do you do? Before we get to Edgar's top tips, I would just like to share our thoughts from dartsmad.com as a sponsor. We sponsor PDC dart players because it gives our brand global exposure, but is much more than that alone. We select our players based on many factors, with potential, results, and on and off the hockey persona equally being as important. We like to think we offer the players much more than just a cash injection by insisting them with endeavours away from darts as and when required.
Number 1 is a bio. You need a personal profile that tells the sponsor exactly who you are. Tell them what you've achieved, what you hope to achieve, a bit about your personal life, your background. You need a big profile to get as much information in to tell the potential sponsor exactly who you are. Number 2, and this is the important bit, this is the bit we always forget. How does that relate to that company? So, if you're going to say to them, I went and I won the Welsh Open, and I was on stage in front of this many people, it's not relevant to Dave's Windows, who are your local firm. So what you're going to do is you've got to get them the relevant data. Tell them what you've achieved, what you're going to achieve, and how that's related to their business and how it's going to benefit their business. Because at the end of the day, the marketing department need to know that it's a sound investment. And being a good dart player isn't good enough. They need to know how their business is going to be promoted and also how it's going to sort of interact within the demographic of your reach. Further on to that, as point 3, or it might be 2.5 or 2.B or whatever you want to call it. Further on to that, you need to make sure you represent yourself in the correct light. So we're not seen drinking alcohol in public places, we're not swearing in public places, we're not swearing all over social media. The guys who are in these companies, who work for these companies that we are approaching or that you want to approach, these guys will be under a contract that won't allow them to do that. The last thing they're going to want to be doing is advertising through you if you've got a bit of a potty mouth. So make sure you present yourself well at all times, because they will check. They will look through your social medias, because you essentially are their advert. You've got to get that bit right. Work out what you offer. What is your unique selling point? What makes you different to everybody else? Why you? Work that out. When you've got that, express it. Let them know what you bring to the table. You're not just a good dart player. There are thousands of good dart players. What makes you the opportunity that they want to do, and what do you offer to that brand? This is the biggest one. Understand what you offer, the point we just discussed, in its entirety. Don't get lazy. Don't be cheap with it. Don't just say, I'll share your posts on social media. What does that social media do? How many followers are there is the first question. That's not good enough. If you say I've got 10,000 followers, you've got to think about the demographic of those 10,000 followers. How many of them are in the UK? For example, you might be approaching a UK business. You approach a UK business and all your following's over in America. It's no good to them. Work out what your audience is, what the demographic of that audience is, and present that. I've got 10,000 followers, 60% UK, this male, this female, this age, this age. Understand what it is, because these are the stats and figures that people want to know. If you're playing on stage, who are you playing the stage in front of? If you're playing on TV, how many people are watching? Get the viewing figures. Don't leave it for them to work out, because if you leave it for them to work out, it won't happen. You've got to have all the facts. And finally, don't fall into that trap of just literally mail shotting loads and loads of business and hoping to land something. Find the ones that are related to you. Find one that will work alongside you, so that you can benefit them, because it has to be a partnership. You have to benefit them as much as they benefit you. And if you just fire out 50, 100 letters, I get letters quite regular from people. A lot of the time, some of the time, they're not even involved in darts. There's no point in me sponsoring a hockey team. Think about what you're approaching and how you fit in with their marketing department. If you're going to approach, I should have probably thought of an example beforehand, Bob's Plumbing of Daventry. How can I benefit Bob's Plumbing of Daventry? I'm doing nothing plumbing related. I know nothing about plumbing. The only way I'm going to do is a bit of brand awareness, and it's probably more because they're a fan of the sport, rather than the fact that you're appealing to their marketing department. Appeal to the marketing department. Know the business you're approaching. Work out what they want. See if you do it, and if you do it, then put the approach in. Don't just go chasing patches left, right and centre. That is a key tip. Edgar TV. If you're enjoying Edgar TV and you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please consider doing that today. Join the Edgar Nation, hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all the latest darts related content right here on Edgar TV.